Hello everyone and welcome to Flickering Myth TV. My name is EJ Marino and today we are diving into the brand new movie, Mortal. Every now and then you find a movie that just kind of stumbles into your lap where you're like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this, I've seen no trailers, no advertisement, but hey, let me give this a chance. That was Mortal for me. I had the chance to interview the director, Andre Oldever. I'm probably pronouncing that very wrong, I am so sorry, but yes, I had the chance to interview him, so they sent me the movie to watch. I had known nothing about this film before going into it, but I'm really happy to say it was a surprisingly fun, kind of genre-less film. It has every genre at one time, which means it feels like no genre at well. It's a fun kind of film to talk about. There's a lot of Norse mythology here. There's a lot of just fun action elements. There's a fun horror element to this as well, with a good center performance. Overall, I will say Mortal is one of my surprise films of 2020. Talking about the genre of this film is interesting because there is a fantasy element of it, but there's also a little bit of an action film. There's also a little bit of a horror film, which is the director's kind of past with films like The Autopsy of Jane Doe, Troll Hunter, and Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. So I'm kind of impressed to see it have a big mix of everything. When I interviewed the director, we were talking about him wanting to venture into a different genre, and he's always felt like Norse mythology was something he wanted to tackle, but it's hard to do as a straight up horror movie. It's hard to make a Thor film or a Odin movie that's like a straight up horror movie. It doesn't always work, especially in the MCU era of things with those characters. But here, there is a little bit of a darker element to it. There's some actual like body horror moments that I thought were really surprising. Some very tense moments as well of this character using his powers. We also have some really crazy like fantasy elements, especially at the end of the movie where we start seeing the backstory and we start learning a little bit more. And then we have the full-on action moments as well. It's a lot in this movie, and I really think that's what makes it such an interesting viewing, to see it play with different genres, to see it kind of live in its own little world where it's just like, look, we can take all of these elements together and make one solid piece, and I actually love when filmmakers do things like that. Mortal follows Eric, played by Nate Wolff, as he figures out he has godlike powers. He's in a whole new country, trying to figure out what to do with his powers, trying to figure out what to do with his life right now that everything's been turned upside down by his new coming up as a god almost. It's pretty crazy. Nate Wolff does amazing in this film. Nate really has an energy that I really believed. His angst, his fear, his powers trying to kind of overwhelming him at times. You believe it. When things start getting overwhelming for him, his acting, his physical acting is so good. This was a character I really enjoyed watching. I do kind of feel bad for like everyone around him because I don't think any other character was as fleshed out as he was, had as many good lines or as many good moments as him. The other actors, I can barely even name characters because they really don't make an impression. He has a female lead in this movie, and it's kind of a love interest at times. It's kind of a character that he's using there kind of to ground him in many ways. She's fine. She does okay. She's just not really a memorable character, and the acting isn't as great. But Nate Wolff's character at the beginning, he has so much heart and soul into this film. I like the character Eric more. I will talk about maybe more Mortal movies in the future, but I want to see his character grow and have so much more to do, especially when he comes into his powers. There's a lot you can do with his character. This movie feels like a good launching pad for him. I really want to see more though. The character Eric, his powers, the world that he's in, it's going to be crazy if we can do more with it. In the singular film, it's fine. I think it works really well, and I get enough of the character, but this is the type of acting performance and the type of character, like, story arc that I want to see get fleshed out in 1, 2, maybe even 3 movies. There's just that much of a good acting performance and a good story brewing here. Now, without spoiling anything about the ending of this movie, though, is a crazy WTF kind of moment. There is a massive cliffhanger that I was just like, what? Like, oh my goodness. But that's the type of ending I enjoy. It made me want to see more. Sometimes you see a movie and you're like, wow, that was a complete meal. I feel stuffed. I don't need any more. But this is a movie I would come back for seconds. I think there is a lot of story to be told here. I think the directing is good. I think everything here says I need a sequel. Immortal 2 could be amazing. Like, this is such a good launching pad with his powers, with the universe, with the story they're trying to craft. But a second movie, you could have more of these Norse mythology, like, kind of gods in here. A female god, I would love to see that as well. A goddess coming in, just slaying all of it. There's just a lot you can do, and I think the movie presents it really well. The ending is going to maybe frustrate a couple people. There are some that love their movies wrapped up in a nice little bow at the end, and that's fine. I definitely understand any criticism about the ending of this movie. It's jarring. It's kind of like, oh, okay, we're doing that now. Sure. Yeah, I get it. But for me, it worked so well. This is it's expanding on a universe just enough that I think it works as a complete story, but it's a cliffhanger where you're like, but what's next? Even if you time jump 5-6 years, what is next for these characters? What is next in the Mortal universe? I love it. Look, we're in the era where everything needs a shared universe. We have to have 8 movies leading up to another movie. I'm not saying I want all of that, but there's a story being crafted here. Andre Oldever can definitely expand what he wants to here. This could be a franchise he returns to every couple years. He makes like small little horror movies and then come do like a big Mortal movie. I would love that. There's a lot here to offer that I'm like, again, I want more. It's awesome for a movie to end like that and go, okay, here is what we can do in the future, and I want to see that future. That was it for my review of Mortal. I actually really enjoyed this movie. Like I said, it's one of my surprises of the year. I walked into it not expecting a lot, but was kind of blown away with how good the acting was from Nate Wolff and how awesome the universe that they were building turned out to be. I would suggest this for people who like those action movies, who like stuff that has a little bit of a fantasy element, and if you like Norse mythology, this is it. This is very Odin, Thor, Loki. This is very all that, but very not MCU, which is so refreshing to see those characters done in a different way. Alright guys, what did you think of this review? What do you think of Mortal? Let me know down in the comments below. Subscribe to our channel if you did enjoy this video, and give us a thumbs up because YouTube takes those way too serious. Alright everyone, let's talk about Mortal down below.